whole room. The sound is really cool in this room.
It definitely is.
It's a theater.
Is it now?
Yes. All right. Chalet and the side of, well, these two teams, to be honest, neither of them has massively hidden it. I think that's the sort of split of things. 50% win rate for the side of FURIA over the past rough 3 months, and actually a 66% win rate for the side of FaZe. They played it 1 time less.
We're getting the waves going on again.
Yeah.
40 bands. Let's just play it out. Ying's sledge removed. First defender now in the waves. Well, I doubt it's going to be a Cade. A Valkyrie could be on the board. Mirror maybe even. Let it play out. Hey! It's the zombie.
We'll talk about these after.
Yeah, let the crowd have that.
We'll let the crowd have that moment.
For sure.
They deserve it.
They deserve it.
It's better than when Parker got.
They're actually doing a wave now as well, going from front to back. Very nice.
I'm so excited to see that grow over the weekend. It's like we went to Charlotte and Parker got the crowd booing at the screen. And then here the crowd is just, I think it's a sports crowd in Europe.
Yeah.
They were booing at Parker Medics, as just said in my hand, which is fair enough.
It wasn't about not having the right cards,
it was about something else. All right. Wine Cellar and Snowmobile Garage, the removal of the Ying. It was causing a couple of problems, I think, before. It was a bit of a tip to the spear that FURIA doesn't want to sort of risk running around and behind. Sure, they bought it themselves for some of the approaches. It didn't quite have the same effect. We saw it used once or twice by FaZe on the most recent map, but it's something FaZe can use well.
Now, FaZe is pretty 50-50 on this map, even though, of course, they haven't won all of it. But if you look at their percentage of win rates on the rounds itself, pretty evenly spread out. If you actually look at FURIA, slightly lower than that. 45% on the defense, 55% on the attack. And one FURIA fan, again, is giving them all they need. Give them the energy.
FURIA! There we go.
Now there's more joining in. All right. Round 1 underway. We are in the basement. We are in Snowmobile and Y. And let's see how it plays out. FURIA on that defense. Are they going to be able to make the difference here from the get-go? Or is FaZe going to lead in with the same amount of pressure and momentum as they had in that previous map?
FURIA, forever the bridesmaid, never quite progressing deeper enough to be the bride. They haven't really had the best time at majors, but they've been so consistent at getting to them, and this throughout their groups was their best performance throughout the groups before. Sort of started to hit a bit of a head here against FaZe. Obviously, there was no inter-region matchups inside, so this is their first true taste to somebody that knows them truly inside and out. The breach comes through pretty quickly onto the side of Snowmobile. Just going to make it uncomfortable. Bullet finds a fight, trying to creep his way right round onto the side, and the approach here from the bottom of West Main. Cyberzera, he's going to see if he can get control of Fireplace in the second story. You need to lock down Dining in that hatch if you want to try and slip a plant, but you've still got Rare on the top ropes with Fantasy stacked up on the stairs.
So Thermic, I believe, just went off. They are starting to open up onto the side on many different of these angles. You mentioned it, Rare, before. He's on that top floor. He's about to receive a bit of a present though from Cyber. Doesn't spot him around the corner somehow. Rare with the first kill.
Tucked himself in right up against it. Knew the pressure was going to start to explode and decided, well, let's try and pop them before it becomes a problem. Souls just misses out on an engagement, and Handy takes Bullet. Now he's looking back to see what he missed, and he's missing everything. There's the kit off on the far end of Narnia. And Souls is left on West Main. They still seem to have a bit of an awareness that are players here. There's 2 of them ready. If one goes down, the next is going to swing into it. There it is, the first. And Souls and Cameraman both get 1 apiece at the same time. SDK, an important moment here. He's got to try and win this out. It's technically a 1 versus 1, but look how separated the FURIA players are. At the same time, FaZe, there's just a hatch technically that separates the 2 of them.
As long as they have control of that hatch, it is going to be Cameraman in a position, but the hatch is gone. Souls gets taken out. It's only up to him now. In a 1v3 situation, no diffuser inside either for him to use and plant. So he needs to sneak around. Heads into blue. Quickly checking his corners. Is going to be checking the staircase as well. Spots out the player. Detonates the Falcon. It's going to be keeping him at bay there. But, you know, his position has been known to know exactly where he's going to be coming from. Gets swung on from below. Fantasy with the kill. It's allowing FURIA to pick up the first round here on Chalet.
Opened up FURIA with the first. And to be honest, it was a little bit back and forth the last game before it started to entirely slink and slip away from them. At this point, it guess becomes more of a conversation of can they keep this roller going? With things going how they are, we saw a lot of control by FaZe for a big portion of the opening half of the map. FURIA, they sort of struggled getting everything thread together, but here, off to a better start.
They are off to a better start. And they want to continue that. They want to push this to a map number 3. They want to make sure they have the opportunity to fight for their semi-final. And it starts here on Chalet, after they've just lost out on that very first map, to see if they can hold on to whatever it is they are looking for. Now, with that first one going that way, that is the start of potential momentum that can be built upon as they set themselves up this time around for the kitchen and dining area. Rare, the man with the magical glasses, is on a bit of a roam. He's down below. Not going to be too helpful at the very first couple of seconds if he stays here and the side gets attacked directly. His SDK finds Souls with a bit of a spawn peek. Rare wasn't trying to as well. He wanted to give a bit of support, but now we'll head back towards the site.
Another very early take, a very quick breakthrough there. Souls gone. They lose an important player on the previous map, and they lose the Twitch. It's going to be a huge plethora of utilities still put apart and across proxies, bulletproofs, and of course, all the gadgetry, ADSs, and discs. So how are you going to have to try and fight your way through without so much support on those very important pressure points of burn? Obviously, you've got the main stairs. You've got SDK as well, just an upside-down rappel across the bow.
Rappel incoming. Bullet trying to put up that pressure onto the library. It's crucial in your conquest to take that top floor. It is the way in directly. E1D pops and hopefully someone to follow up behind it, but instead it's just going to be information. They know exactly where Fantasy is going to be located now. Our Reterrors are coming around the corner as well, pushing back into the bathroom area. Still has the opportunity to push out, of course, but slowly but steadily the FaZe members are starting to surround him there, and you already have them up on the double window on the back here near Solarium, so Fantasy's kind of stuck in the bathroom.
Waiting patiently for the burn game that happens. He can't do it alone, so he's hoping that Cyber's Era can put a little bit of distance in and try and pressure the players out, but there's one talk, as you said, inside bathroom. That drone, did it see him? I guess that's a question we're going to have answered in a second. Fantasy's going to answer it himself. There's a take, there's a cold kit, there's a second. Doesn't quite get the connection. There it is. Cyber is just able to find the map. They're still trying to push behind the momentum that they built before. They're obviously still a body down. Lost the player onto the windows. And FURIA pull themselves back towards the site.
Needs to be used, but will be caught off by an ADS that literally just activated again. So no damage done. Of course, there was no players out there. No need to worry. As Astro gets quite close, receives a return fire from Miracle with the 9mm. Leaves it only up to Cyber now in a 1v3 situation. If he wants FaZe to win, he needs to clutch this out. 40 seconds, it's plenty of time.
That's it, all the time in the world now, but unfortunately none of the friends to try and achieve it with. An attempt on a catch on the loose player, nothing, at least has the kit in pocket, but I don't believe they've been able to do any construction and destruction onto the site before they can actually make it. So you've still got locked box and the angles that they want to go through. There's a big rotation coming from underneath, one on the far end of the table. It's going to be your first engagement. They don't need to swing until it becomes an ask. Again, more peppers and 3 fires. They know where you are. Gets one out the door, but no more.
No more than that. It's FURIA now, 2-0. Starting off. Oh, he has binoculars with him.
Truly
with
has
the binocs.
Gone to the theater.
Let's bring the binocs.
If only he has them on the end of a stick.
There's room for improvement over the next 3 days then. Now, beautiful shot by the way from Miracle. Figured out he was being pressured. Able to lock off a couple of kills. Locking around as well. FURIA find themselves a 2-0. FaZe again on the attack. This time it's going to be the billiard or bar and games area. But so far they haven't really been able to be in true control yet. The rounds they have been scrappy, yes. But it's always been FURIA that still had 2 or 3 members left at the end of that round to make sure they were there to lock it in. This FaZe kind of struggled. So they need to figure out a way to get these rounds in on the attack. Aim for a 3-3. It's still possible. I mean, it requires you to step up the game a little bit compared to what you've shown so far on Chalet. but they are capable of doing that. They're an experienced lineup.
5 seconds remaining.
So we sort of highlighted statistics on the previous map and how generally it starts to fall. This is one that does play well to attackers, and last game was generally swinging into the same favor of stats, but here it's opening against the curve. Oh, goodbye. That's just one of them moments.
And Cyber taking up a beautiful headshot from STK. He wasn't even putting up a pressure yet. He was just sitting there. Just like Rare is sitting there right now. He's not receiving a bullet, luckily. A beautiful pickup.
Yeah, he's waiting for the chance to go for a bit of a pop and a run out here. They actually stacked themselves close to a couple of different windows, and they've played these little angles before and caused a bit of drama here. The smoke and the movement, the Gaimin gets stuck in foot. They're covered. They don't quite have it. There it is. The attempt at the plant stuck around the corner. Are you going to go for the swing, Handy? He's tempted, but he's not actually going to make the motion. They're going to find a plant, and the cover above. Fantasy goes down. The run out does get one, can't get two. And Rare's been able to tuck himself into Pantry. They're over the side. The smoke comes down. They're looking for the angle above the hatch as well. It's the two players with 4. Lost vertical, lost control of the window. The Adrenal, no more grenades from the Thinker, at least just to deliver and drop. There's a long-range class. There's the man behind the smoke. Handy gets at least one out the door, but a sliver of health and a pre-fire stating the knowledge. We know where you are.
And FaZe will lock it off. Find their first round, and they just mentioned it before, there is still plenty of time for them to turn Chalet around. They've only lost 2 rounds so far, and if they manage to bring this to a 3-3 or maybe even a 4-2 for themselves, they're finding themselves in that good spot. Is that Krine's brother out there?
Krine's brother?
Yeah?
With the flexing?
With the flexing?
Maybe. It's like a flex cam. We need that.
The flex cam. Also need the sign cam to come up, but I don't see any signs around now. I saw them earlier today.
Cyber, come on.
Lock off from cameraman now. We are headed back towards the snowmobile and wine cellar area, where of course FaZe have lost out a round before. FURIA hoping that now it has been unlocked again after 2 extra rounds of play, since they have won it, can take another victory here. They can put themselves on the 3-1 here. Something might have been learned about it, though. They might have figured out what went wrong last time around, so they can change things in the bases,
5 seconds left.
which allows them to continue on.
Attacker's objective is to locate
Red light
the
came
bomb.
through with a little bit of intel there.
I didn't hear what he said, though. Something with the bandit, but that's about it.
He said they want to. They were hiding the pick.
Oh, they were hiding the pick. All right.
Yes.
So the drones came through, couldn't find it.
They're playing against the Thatcher, obviously. The Thatcher is on the board.
Yes.
Have the chance to roll against it, but they're going to see if they can try and trick at least the first. And when you're looking at what they've got, well, it's only really both of them. They have more than enough to have a bit of a cost here. The Bandit's already up. They're waiting for the approach here. Fantasy, you might try and cause some problems. They're concerned. Droning out all of the mute jammers, stop any drones getting themselves through. There's the first. This grenade is going to go when the mute jammers are off to take care of all of that. But there's an ADS, and there's Fantasy pulling away.
They might have wanted to hide it there, but a double Selma is going to be a bit too much to trick, so Fantasy has to pull off. There's no way for him to try and still go for that trick, so instead goes a bit more aggressive, opens up that window, sees if he can actually find a pick upon one of the FaZe players out there on the main breach, but they've already rotated out. They're here near the trench. They want to open up towards the wine cellar wall so they can actually dig in deep and go for that plant. However, the hatch still not under control of the attackers.
And that's it. If they're going to go for this sort of breach and plant, obviously last time we were on this side, cameraman, he tried to dig his way through. Rare suffers some scrapes, and Fantasy suffers even more. Most of a grenade catches him in the face. There's a little pocket left. I think there's a drone at the bottom of the snowmobile stairs that's probably calling out most of his motions. SDK blinded on his approach, and Cyber takes care of Handy. Now SDK, he doesn't want to get isolated here. He's concerned about somebody slipping their way down from the west main stairs. As everything seems to be firing its way through. It's just a bit of a hole. There's a rotation coming from Garage. Oh, he pops out of nowhere. Pre-fires, hoping for a second phase to appear, but instead moves deeper away. He's a problem that needs to be dealt with.
Especially if you want to go for the execute that FaZe is currently eyeing up. They want to plant near the wine cellar area. They need to dig in deep as a result, but if you have someone out there near the actual big garage, as Cyber just comes in, takes down Rare, they can always strike back in the back of you, and that's not something you want. However, you can put up a bit of flank watch now. If you manage to get yet another kill down on the direct side, you could be going for a plant.
Miracle's trying to take a fight on the door. He wanted to offer some support. Souls is keeping that lockdown, saying, we know where you are, so they just pop the fire. Buy themselves 15 seconds and hope they can loop it in a huge rotation round towards Garage. The kit is currently making its way to a brand new home. And you can see they've got the stack up and support. They're hoping all the attention comes through. There's Cyberzera. There's Cyberzera! Gets the drop through the side, gets his 4K. Is he on for the ace? He's trying to make it in time for the fight. Souls is putting a bit of bait with the knife. Cyber pre-fires, and he's going to keep going and going. He wants the big pop-up, and he gets it!
It is comes through, the right call made. They realize someone was in the big garage. He pushes through, gets 2 kills. The plant can go down behind the bins. And SDK still stuck inside of the big garage. These are the Hatman.
The Hat
Man.
The Hat Folk.
The Hat Folk.
Good hats.
Good
Great
hats. Love to see them.
So we've seen binoculars in the audience. We've got hats.
Yes, we do. What else can we find?
There's someone in a banana costume.
Yeah, but I think...
How?
Oh, there's the banana. I can see. Yeah.
There's
can
the
we get
banana.
the camera on?
Great banana.
Maybe soon. Start being signed as well by all the telemembers.
Well, what else are you supposed to do with it?
Of course, get the banana signed. One more bite.
In the last map, it was one of the things I sort of said around the halfway point, closer towards the end, that some of the bigger names that we're used to grabbing a game and zooming with the pressure, Cyber being one of them, weren't quite hitting the same sort of pace. Obviously, FaZe still won it out and found that grab and momentum here with the ace, with the kills that he'd already got as a calm and cool nest before then. From that point onwards, we'll see if he has a little bit, I guess, more of that caliber and quality.
2-2 FaZe have managed to bring it back. They stopped the momentum of Furia. Now they find themselves on equal levels. Back towards the kitchen and dining we go. Is FaZe going to be able to get a 3rd round in a row here, put themselves in the lead, not just in maps, but also in round score here in Chalet. Cyber holding very long. He knows someone is out there looking for a bit of a spawn peek, but he can't quite find it yet.
Rare takes a little bit of damage. Fancy's trying to find a fight with Cyber from a very long range.
Oh!
Well, that's Fancy for you. And that's one of the problems you got to deal with. Sense might be the next. First time we've seen them picked up in this showdown. They're looking for some attention over onto Solarium's side. But it's the slow creep of Bullet. He's potentially gone undetected and wants to keep it that way for now.
Now the thing is, with Sense, I think they are a really good operator, especially if you do manage to open up the wall onto the fireplace side. However, it's now Heartbreach. So that's not going to be working out. So they need to find a different ways to use their gadget, the light screen, to block off lines of sight.
Well, not that way, but at least Cameraman can try and take one back. Sends and Bullet on the back line. Suddenly it's a 3 versus 3. Gets dropped from the cover coming through from main. SDK and Bullet now scrape next. Miracle had the lockdown. They're keeping each other's backs locked in. There it is. The end of Souls and Bullet with a sliver of health and no diffuser for his trouble is buried inside the site. They have the vertical control. They've rotated up. Players rotated down as well.
It's the ITA 12S. Just a slither of HP that needed to be taken care of. That's, well, as far as the shotgun really reaches. So, it's Furia that do retake the lead after just shortly have lost it against FaZe. 3-2. Aiming for a 4-2 split.
I mean, that would be fantastic.
That would be fantastic.
Your defense on Chalet, if you're able to push yourself into a 4-2 before heading onto your attack, as I said, it's one of the things that Furia have been fantastic at throughout this tournament. That puts you in a really good position to push this game onto that 3rd map, onto that 3rd location to butt heads of Cafe, which is intrinsically a very coordinated, a very sometimes claustrophobic and sometimes terrifyingly open map. In terms of the takes that you do. A great bite back from Furia here. They cut the momentum of FaZe off. As you said, can they get their 4th? FaZe still don't think it's worth taking the time out for now. This is still par for their course. And to be fair, they put a great defensive performance on this map, generally throughout this tournament so far, and in general.
Yes. But 50% is the average win rate so far off this map in this tournament. So with that, FURIA managed to lock this up with a 4-2. They're doing better than average. And definitely the attack could be decisive. But FaZe, there's nothing to be lost yet. They can still bring this to a 3-3, and after that find themselves with what is basically an average split.
Okay, FaZe, what can you do here on your last attack? Well, apparently not a lot. Cyber's removed. Fantasy, 2 for 2 over the past 2 rounds and taking his head off when he's far from the building. That gives them, once again, a huge boon and a bit of intel here for just them to sort of have the confidence. The push and the pressure comes through. Souls is steadily removing it. The Twitch drone active and alive. Probably not for very long. They're popping and peppering every bit of intel and utility. Just slips by the mute jam, and with the hot pings, comes through.
Kill comes in for Astra. Takes the buddy count back to even. Removing the Melusi off the board. SDK. To be able to have any further impact. Fantasy, 4 reinforced walls right behind him. Allows him to be a bit more safe. Rotates back as the E1D pops off. Doesn't want to be the first target of a potential push right through the library. That's going to be some information. Some good information on the pantry. They need to deal with Miracle somehow. Now, as he steps out, it seems like he's aware of the fact that there is a drone, and we'll find it as well. Takes it out. Now needs to relocate, though, before they act upon the outdated information.
That's it. They know that that player is a backline, but to be fair, you've always generally expected it's the other loose ones, noticeably Fantasy, around at the top, playing just shy of the fireplace hold spot, hoping it goes out unchecked, tucked behind the bookcase itself. Obviously, he's a big reveal if anyone put pressure onto the double window, but seemingly nobody directly is. Cameraman's making a steady approach, though. Across from the bedroom side, he might be the first to find that fight. He's just keeping some of the cool coordination. It's still just down to Fantasy, because if he takes a fight and then goes for a hop out over the balcony, he still might get caught. Waiting patiently and with bated breath. As I said, he is in a place that could get audio called and picked apart. Miracle finds Bullet. They're trying to push themselves, force it to the side. There's the strike. There it is. FURIA, a 4-2 split.
With that, they put themselves in a really good position for the second half. They want to push this towards a map number 3 to decide whoever is going to those semifinals. 4-2. A moment of breath. Wine Cellar and Snowmobile will be coming up next for the side of FaZe now on the defense. As the timer ticks down, we're getting underway. Just to figure out what is going to be next.
All right, at this point, what are we going to start to get here from the side of FaZe? They were not entirely convincing on their defenses. It was when the game started to find a bit of a back and forth, and it might have continued if they hadn't been able to have such a sturdy attack when they were on the other map. But here, well, they've got to try and find a way to step it up, bring a little bit more of that energy, bring them a little bit more of what we've seen from them. There it is. FURIA is trying to bring their energy.
Definitely want to. They want to push this towards map number 3. They want to make sure that they can fight with their spot in semis. You said it before, they never really got this far. They want to make sure that finally they push themselves into a situation where they have the opportunity to fight, where they have the opportunity to compete, maybe even for a grand final spot. And I know that is getting ahead of myself here. We're still in quarters. But if they do manage to push this to a map number 3, then it could be possible that they pick it up all together as we head to Cafe for a decider. Now, it is the second half, and Siege is a game off 2 halves, and with that FaZe onto the defense now. They might be outdoing FURIA, we do not know that yet. But as Fancy gets the very first, it's Astra taking off the board. It's a good start for FURIA on their first attacking round. Cyber drops as well right now. Not a single point of damage done yet towards the side of FURIA. As Rare does go down, Cameraman chases for the kill. He's quite low on HP. Souls drops as well. SDK somehow wins out on that gunfight. Only Cameraman and Bullet remain. The 2v4 situation now, FaZe. Can they bring this back? Can they clutch this up in a 2v4? No, it doesn't seem to be the case as Bullet drops. Cameraman goes aggressive, he's chasing with the SMG, but he runs out of ammo as it's being taken out from above. SDK locks him off, and it's FURIA now 5-2 in the lead.
Well, this is sort of what we expected a little bit more from on the first map. We didn't quite have that energy, that warmed up, and on the back of that, FaZe are taking their time out to talk. Try and slow things back down, but you can see the smiles on the sides of FURIA. They want to keep this one going. They're more than happy to see how much further they can push this. Obviously, as we said before, Dostoevsky is going to be our third map if FURIA can keep up this trend, but 5-2. Hey, do you know when we were last here?
When were we last here?
This exact time in the previous map. FaZe were up 5-2 after their first round on the split of the half. So there is pretty good history here for FURIA to be able to lock it down.
All right, FURIA, just 2 more rounds and you find yourselves headed towards map number 3. Pretty good attack coming down just now. You isolated the players of FaZe. There was not really anything they could do against it. They're trying to fight back, they're trying to go aggressive, and instead you fall back as well. At the same time they go for that push, they run out of breath. You take them out as they do. Do not allow them to get back into cover.
Protect your bombs from being defused by them.
And we're headed towards the dining kitchen area. This is where we would have liked to see Sense come into play in combination with a heart breach earlier on.
Attackers have located
Again,
the bomb.
no true heart breach. This time in the hands of FURIA though. Might still be repicked in. Of course, is a mechanic that is currently on the board. And otherwise, we will see some heart breach gadgets instead on maybe the hands of Handy to make sure that there is at least some capability of opening up the wall and create some angles for the long-range attacking guns to be used.
All right, FaZe. What was in the half-time oranges? Where was that conversation and where is it going to take you? One more round and FURIA find themselves guaranteed OT, but it really feels like they're going to take more than just one more round at this current rate. A pretty standard hold and setup here. They've got pretty much everything to break through it. Oh wait, apart from hard destruction. They're going for something a little bit more built around the openings that they have ahead of them. It's a quick bout of explosives here.
They want to just brute force themselves through. There's not even heart breach gadgets that we would have discussed earlier on. Bullet drops back. He knows the pressure is coming up, so decides to fall back behind the stairs, going down towards the snowmobile area so he can still strike back. Nobody would do that though as soon as the heart breach decides to go off, but since there is none, not quite sure how this is going to be working out. Looks like FURIA just want to go for a bit of aggression, just want to lead in with these entries and then do not stop until they're back on the site. Make the defenders go for a bit of a retake strategy here.
Drop the diffuser.
FURIA very quick to find their way in towards the top floor, but this is where things might get a little bit tricky because the GAF is going to try and brute force their way through. We've already seen FaZe have a pretty quick reaction. They handed over Library. They weren't going to play the game that FURIA wanted to play. But still, cameraman, how long is he going to try and stick this out? Has the shield for support. Obviously, it's smoke. Fantasy goes maybe for the swing round. There's the pop on anything that might stop this. The drop onto the shield. There it is. The grenade. Oh. Perfectly played. The C4 a little bit too late, but they'd already got the drop onto the player. Fantasy's just going to move along, and all that ground is taken away. But Astro, he wanted to have one more taste before he slips back. There goes Miracle as well onto the swing of the stairs. Picked back up, but are they going to escape? Ooh, just sings to the top of the stairs with a sliver of health.
They know though, someone is coming down from below them, someone is chasing them, and his Handy has gone down. He's looking towards blue, hoping to find Bullet, of course, who did go for that chase before. Seems like he's going on the flank again. This might be to his detriment as he does get picked up, potentially, by the flank watch. Drones out there. Bullet just holding as well. Knows someone could be coming down these blue stairs. Will they, though? Is a big question. Handy deciding to give up on actually watching that flank, putting up some pressure, opening up these hatches, seeing if he can find alternate angles.
I was going to say, it sounded like he popped the camera just at the very end there, so I think they were waiting for it to potentially become active and hope that he slipped through thinking nobody was there. FURIA, 30 seconds. They've still got to try and pace and focus towards the site, seeing if they can force some of the players out of position around the door itself. Keep moving. You know, they've got C4s, and they used one almost perfectly just before. A little bit more health, a little bit more for Miracle, just to try and work it on the final 20 seconds. SDK takes the drop, takes the rotation. Miracle, slow creep down the stairs. There's a break, there's Cyber. able to find the mark. There's just 2 players left. There's no kit. There's one. There's only Handy. He is in between every single which way FaZe. 3 rounds.
3 rounds, and I'm kind of worried, though. Worrying. Where was the Heartbreach? There was not even a single attempt at bringing it. You could have brought Heartbreach gadgets. You could have brought a Heartbreach operator. I mean, you knew what site you were going to. Yet again, FURIA didn't want to play it. And if they do continue going down that road, we might see FaZe go for a bit of a comeback. And of course you can brute force. Of course you can try and push through like they wanted to do.
Attackers need to locate and defuse
But if you limit yourselves to just a couple of doorways, then it is going to be easier for these defenders to shut you down as well. You need to open up these multiple different angles. And if you look at them right now, no sign of a Heartbreach yet either. I mean, Handy is going down onto the buck. Again, could bring Heartbreach gadgets, but you kind of want more than that. You kind of want the Hibana that indeed comes down from Rare right now. Opens up opportunities. That's what you're looking for. If you don't take the Heartbreach, there's nothing you can open up that is currently closed. So you need to give yourself the opportunity to do so if you think it's necessary. And just bringing out the Hibana, that might be a big change that was necessary.
Also, with the IQ, in terms of driving against some of the intel, there's always the concern, there's always the tuck-in. Chalet is such a big intel-driven game at points, just being able to hide away so much utility in and amongst the beams across the top or the tucked-in plant pots on the bottom. It's a consistent problem, and she can make that problem much quicker. FURIA, talking of quick, they're not going just as they were before. They're trying to find out Astro. He's suddenly finding himself between a couple of different drones. How long he decides to stick around on this territory and how many he decides to take out on the way, it's probably sooner rather than later as SDK. He's looking to creep his way up here. The grenade comes as the cook. Fantasy hits the window. Astro's found his way towards Split and slipped past the big double door.
Issue now is that they've given away the complete north side of that building, both top floor and bottom floor. So with that, they can start pushing towards the site. They can start pushing towards the library from inside the building rather than outside on the balcony. And that might be a bit more difficult to deal with as a defender right here, because they have that horizontal width that they can use. They can bring in multiple grenades. They can bring in these different kinds of angles, and you are kind of limited to whatever you can use.
FURIA knocking their heads against this FaZe hold for now. They haven't quite been able to find those wide picks that they did before, whether that was the topic of FaZe's team talk of we just need to try and pull this one a little bit more back to our chests and then lean back into them when they don't quite expect the rest. It's starting to structure something more of a late gunfight rather than early doors being slammed in their face. Hey, STK, they say, with a few bullets fired from the bullet hole and the punch just on the bottom. They're not quite confident enough to go for the swing, but Miracle takes cameraman on the top of blue stairs. Bullet might need to take this drop sooner rather than later. He's hoping to get one loose catch, and there he does. Rare goes off. He's able to find Cyber with the cover of SDK. Handy has to swing round on the far side, finds Cyber, but Astro gets the drop onto Miracle at the same time. One player outside the double window. Handy still trying to get control of the top floor. They really got pulled away from FURIA there.
Ooh, Astro just got caught off there with the air jab. Locked off, ran right through two. Wanted to retake that top floor, but unfortunately unable to make it stick. The air jabs doing their jobs, bringing it back to a 2v2. Nitro still in hand for Bullet, waiting for that. Pre-placed, they have a camera, they have information. Of course, Fantasy is still on the board as well. Could be using that electronic scanner to actually find out. As there is tons of utility, and the diffuser has been down.
Yeah, the diffuser was down in the engagement on the top floor. They chased the player instead. They've got it back now, but 15 seconds. One of them's going to have to try and head down. And it's not the man holding the kit. Handy gets locked on the door. FaZe. They bring it back within 1 round's touching distance.
FaZe able to grow into this defense is exactly what they need and need to show if they want to be going for a second major win. You need to be able to win on most maps. You need to be able to show the fortitude. And if you've been down like that, 4-2, 5-2, you need to be able to bring it back. It's FURIA, all right. I think, what's being shouted? It's FURIA.
There was a bit of back and forth.
There's a bit of back and forth between two fans. Now, as we head towards the basement, It is going to be FaZe needing to extend themselves. Now, are they going to do that with a roam towards the top floor, or are they going to be, you know, getting themselves nicely spread around onto that basement, make sure they do take trench into their own hands, because there is going to be the Ossa, at least it seems like, in the hands of Rare. An operator, of course, with talent shields, which are perfect to go for a plant which might be contested from a certain angle. Think of the connector, for example. Put the talent shield down, you can plant right behind it. Only a C4 and impact will really be doing damage to you.
Attackers are moving out to locate
FaZe, 1 round separating them from catching up. FURIA still 1 round of being able to try and close this one out. They still obviously have time for their conversation, but they trust that this, the tertiary site, is the one that they might be able to lock down. Cellar was the start and it was theirs. It might be potentially closer to the end as well. Fantasy, a name that you still want to see always more of because we know what he's capable of. And, well, Cyber is that other response, and he's getting this one early. Oh. There it is, Miracle. And there it is, Cameraman! And this is the game that these two teams play, a thread of players littered around the site, more than ready to pull at each other.
But that's how you need to play. You need to have someone ready to go for a refrag at every given time. May it be Cyber going for a jump out, getting caught by Miracle, of course, who was, you know, aware of what was happening, took that space, and Cameraman then going aggressive again. That's kind of what you need. You need that back and forth. You need to play on contact together, because otherwise you're just going to be losing members without any impact whatsoever.
When you lose an Ossa, usually it heralds plan A has gone wrong. SDK is able to at least start to make things go a little bit right. They went for the drop onto the hatch itself to take them by surprise, but SDK was more than ready and willing, and now suddenly it's a 3 versus 3, and there wasn't anybody close enough. Whether they knew he'd been able to crouch his way into that position or not, it doesn't change the fact that now they're trying to get the breach onto the building. The site itself there on Snowmobile stairs. Bullet is trying to find an angle, but it seems like he's being revealed on a drone the whole time. They might get the catch on the second, but somebody's behind him, going for the catch themselves. Bullet had an awareness. He tucks himself back round. A minute 10. He cannot be caught. It's Souls that swings round to offer that support. A long-range fight. Puts bullets either side. Fantasy, who can he find? There's one onto the blue. He tucks himself towards the side. Cannot connect. Handy gets one. Handy gets two. And now FURIA, with a little bit of a pistol and a little bit of health, takes a second to breathe. Cameraman, no more canisters. He's got to time this play against the plant. Is Handy going to stick it? He feels confident enough. The other player's far enough away. Now he's going for the fight.
Oh,
he gets it, Handy!
He was so low on HP. A single pellet from the shotgun would have ended the job right there. But finds a slither of that smoke. A drone potentially giving away the information. He is coming through Snowmobile. You need to be ready. And its FaZe was literally a bullet away from bringing it back to 5-5. It's FURIA that find themselves onto map point now. 1 round away from pushing us to map number 3. As the wine cellar hat fallen. Go back towards that middle floor. Again, no hard breach on the side of FURIA yet. That could, of course, still change. And I think it should change as well. Because otherwise they're going to struggle. There it is, Hibana making its way in.
There it is. The swap out. They're bringing the hard destruction this time around. They want to see if they can be a little bit more direct towards the site itself. Obviously, it was a hell of a clutch. Finding the 3K, the plant against the tide of players. They'd lost and suffered quite a lot elsewhere. They'd lost the Ossa, and as I said, that's usually plan A off the board. If you lose an Ossa or a Monty or somebody that's the drive on a push, then things might have to take a bit of a wicked turn elsewhere. Here, though, nothing like that. Something a little bit more traditional, as he said, with the hard breach alongside the slightly rarer scene Ash might be a step in. A couple of frost mats could be a catch, but to be fair, FURIA's drone game has been pretty thorough.
Yeah, for sure. They haven't been really making any of these missteps here, and you kind of can see that from that very last round. Yes, the jump out was not caught, but they did manage to instantly reply to it. But after that, they did have the numbers on the FaZe players. They knew exactly where they were going to be coming from. Just lost some of those gunfights, unfortunately. But the last one, for example, the smoke, the 1v1, they knew exactly where smoke was going to be coming from. So they know generally where these FaZe members are located. Their drone game is on point. They have quite a good economy. as I say that. 7 drones still left in pocket, 2 minutes to go. Make that 6.
Well, there's a couple of bodies stacked up on a window, and there's not really anything, I believe, to support the catch on utility that can come through. It didn't look like there were any discs locked in. You hope and maybe expect at least one would get loosed, but there it is. The flashes start to come towards it. The wall will get popped over the top. Here comes a grenade. Here comes a second grenade. Still no catch as Astro pulls himself slightly further away. There's a frost mat. Well, maybe we cursed it. Maybe we didn't. There it is. Bullet and cameraman. Get a couple more on the far end. Rare suddenly has the startling realization that there's a player in that position. Miracle, he's coming here to offer some support, but the grenades already rolled, used, and lost. It just would have taken one to get it.
Would have taken one, instead they don't. 2v5. A minute 10 on the clock here. C4 gets used. It's not going to be able to find anything. Rare's downstairs, looking to take Fireplace. Miracle rotating around as well, hoping to maybe go for a bit of a push through the library side, at least put up some pressure there. As he falls back all the way down towards the bottom floor. Excaras go off, they open up the wall. In the meantime, going down West Main as well, hopefully pushing in together at some point. They need to support each other here, 50 seconds on that clock. Miracle will be entering in from the games, waiting. Or at least Rare is waiting for him to be in position so they can start striking together.
40 seconds. 5 FaZe players to get through, and once again, most of the aggression happened a little bit further away from the site than they probably would have liked. Sure, the Habana was able to do a little bit of destruction up on the top floor. But at this point now, with everybody else dropped, including now Miracle, Rare gets one on the way out. 4 more players, the full reveal of where they are. FaZe bring back one more, and we'll go to OT.
Round 12 will decide. A tactical timeout will be called by FURIA. 45 seconds for them to discuss what they can do to make sure that map 3 is going to happen. It's the last tactical timeout we have for this map here. FaZe already used theirs way earlier on. And FURIA, they know. They are finding themselves on map point. Just a single round more and they will be headed towards Cafe. Will be headed towards the cider map. And FaZe, they also know if we bring this to OT, we could lock this off in only 2. Allow ourselves that bit of extra rest before our semifinals tomorrow. And as the timer hits 10, the coach and the ability to speak is starting to run low.
You're just doing like a play-by-play on.
I'm doing that, but
on a timeout.
He's not really been talking much. Just starts now. The last 5 seconds, some last motivational speech towards FURIA. This is when you lock it off, guys. This is when you push us to map 3. And after that, it is all a best of 1 again.
FaZe. They've been able to fight this back on a bit more of a back and forth second half. A single round separates either of these teams from finding themselves in another mental reset position where we have an OT. And that's up to you at this moment in time, FURIA, to be honest. Some of these are looking really sharp, some of these moments. Great attacks more put together, but unfortunately you're up against FaZe, a team of many, many answers.
And a team of many great gunners as well. The Frostmats, they managed to catch off one of the players of FURIA the last time around. They put down 2 into the big window just to make sure that if Games is going to be approached quickly, it will be shut down in just a matter of seconds. And it is not completely off the board here. The line comes through. The Finca is always there, of course, with the LMG. But FURIA, you know, they might be thinking, what if we put a bit more pace into it?
Pressure over the top. I compliment FURIA's drone game, and then things started to slip through their pockets a little bit. Maybe that was the timeout to just sort of say, look, heads on, we know that we can take this, and we know that we can take the players. Fantasy. Putting a bit of quick pressure here. There goes the skeleton key into Frostmat's. Cameraman has the cover, but he gets the player down. Suddenly he's in the site, just slips away from the fight background. Rare's trying to offer some support from the fireplace door, but Fantasy is now the back line of sight, gets it. And he's looking for one more. They're moving over to the hatch on the second story. Rare's going to drone ahead as more control comes from Handy and the heal comes through from SDK. Bullet massively injured as well against it. FaZe taken by a little bit of a blind side here. Astro, a slow creep underneath Snowmo. He's going to see if he can try and pull one apart, and he needs to do it sooner rather than later as Bullet gets down through the softs from the man inside the site. Wondering if somebody's on the door.
Drone gets taken out. Souls goes for the revive. That might be quite dangerous. Here it is too. Stuck in a single corner now. Rare is coming around on the rappel. He's elevated here as the shoulder gets shown for the second time around. He gives his position his way. As Souls takes a little bit of damage here. And E1D pops in. It's Astro that will get one kill. Brings it back to a 3-on-3. But look at the HP on the FaZe side. Almost all of them are about one shot as SDK misses the opportunity to find a kill. The plank goes down. 45 seconds soon on the board.
They move the plant off. They're not quite happy with where it is, and Bullet proves why. Gets Rare. Handy can't quite get it. There's the spray from the verticality. There's FaZe! Take it back from the jaws of defeat and throw us into OT.
This side had fallen about a minute or two earlier. Completely cleared out by Fantasy. They could have gone for a plant if they had a little bit more control for that top floor. But now 6-6, 3 more rounds. Who is going to be reaching 8 first? Is it going to be FURIA? Or will it be FaZe? What we do know though is that FaZe is on the defense now. They are favored. So far, 8 rounds won on the defense compared to the 4 on the attack. Is this going to be the difference maker? Is FaZe, with this overtime starting side, going to be finding themselves in that position to end this with a 2-0? This is Brazilian showdown for a semi-final spot. For another Brazilian showdown.
For another Brazilian showdown.
Yes. The road stops though.
The road to the finals for Brazil is paved by Brazil.
It is. At least one Brazilian team will make it to the finals. What is new? Of course, incredible siege region. With 2 incredible teams playing right here, right now.
So, FaZe continue on their defense here. 2 most recent rounds are the ones that they're able to do it. And as I said before, that one was purely from the jaws of defeat. FURIA took not a risk, but the throwdown and some free territory, which is again a game that I think they've played more confidently on other days than they have today. But you probably can't get away with some of the plays that FaZe know and read like a book. SDK on the finger roll, just popping open some long-range windows, trying to find loose FaZe players on Kitchen, the site that has gone away from them twice.
Fantasy pushing himself in and top of the library is taking out some of those utility pieces, but more importantly, gaining a lot of control. He wants to be pushing in towards the office area soon. He's just quickly getting out the scanner to see if there's any cameras, any black ice out there that will be giving away their positions. Doesn't seem to be the case, even though Souls is playing on that Valkyrie currently. It is the complete south side of the building that has been forfeited towards the side of FURIA. So FaZe, are you happy with this? Is this going to be how you want to lock off this next round? Or will you be finding yourself in an opportunity to fight back against lots of grounds that have been lost to FURIA so far?
Well, Astro's under a bit of pressure here from the balcony and from the window and almost from the door. He somehow survives, slips his way through. They're hot on the heels. Do they know purely where everybody is? Cameraman, he's dancing a bit of a dangerous dance. He's able to slip away too because nobody's currently covering that window. That's the most important part here. 2 players free to get out of there with the rest of the pressure that came through because FURIA didn't quite have that position for FaZe to have to fight their way back through. Now the rotate comes across it. All of that utility still in place on the stairs.
Now there's going to be a fight on the blue stairs here. Miracle has 2 FaZe members pushing up very soon. There's going to be the impact coming in first. It is 2 men. He shoots in the middle. He's not quite able to get them. The flashbang gets tossed in. He will be healed up and somehow escapes with his life.
But Fantasy takes one of his own. Souls and the pressure onto site. They're screaming their way down the stairs. There it is. Trophy, and he's starting to create a collection of his own. Pushes and pushes. Frere There's one against the board. Astro takes it through the soft, but he is now all that's left, and there's not a rotate, and there is a drone revealing the play, and the player a post plant. Astro with barely any health. They have a full-on awareness of where he is, and they have a player watching his escape either side. Even if he wins this one, there's a lot more to have to go through. He sure does. But 30 seconds. And a hot hop and a drop down from the second story Bauk is never easy to put together. One on the left, they've retaken the verticality right behind him as well. So one of them's going to push for the fight, but he doesn't need to be there. FURIA 7-6.
Again, find themselves on map point. And FaZe have been able to fight this back before. Can they do it again? Now on the attack, however, slightly unfavored. The claps are starting to come out.
So remember the beginning of the series, you were like,
there's only one FURIA
there's one FURIA person here.
There is.
They have steadily started to convert more people around them. It's like there's a FURIA section now.
There's a section now.
There's a section
for FURIA.
Yeah.
Starting to climb.
As there should be.
They deserve it. A lot of, you know, you said it before, it's like that talent that always get there, always get to the majors, but never really managed to push on further. Now they've made it out of groups, and the semi-final will be their next step, their next goal to be reached. They think they have what it takes to be a major champion, and if you see them play, they definitely do. They just need to put it all together.
Okay, FURIA have taken us to billiards. That's the site that they want to bring, and statistically a little bit puzzling for how their first half went. Kitchen wasn't 100% win rate for them on their defense. They had this once and lost it once, and they only really bought it as their very last swing, and then one cut in the middle. So for my money, statistically, it's a little bit more of a risk, but maybe they're trying to play against that. They've obviously got themselves once again up against the lion, the catch, and the sort of catch-all that it's been in their opening half.
A lot of members of FURIA currently around in trophy, 2 of them. Others are rough sight as well. No one directly stopping anybody from jumping in, but Miracle, of course, in the pantry side of things. SDK ready to go for a jump out here. He's watching the camera. There comes the impact. He runs for it. He's not going to be the Claymore. We'll finish him off. FaZe with the entry kill.
It's the evolution. You do the run out on the door. There's a Claymore. Some people started to do it from the wall. There's a Claymore. Ever since you're allowed 2 in your pocket. Cameraman gets in and obviously gets that first one against SDK. A good lead in. He's found himself pretty frequently in and amongst that entry statistic and Cyber. Well, he's another name there. The battle between him and Fantasy took over the core in the middle of a fair few of these rounds. He's waiting for another swing round. The pressure is coming onto Piano. He's got to try and find a route out, and he's trying to find it himself. There it is. Another grenade bounces. He's going to push further and further into it, and they pull further and further away. The E1D and the up and down, and the prep with the pistol pops one bullet, but then pulls himself instantly away as Cameraman is trying a heavy hit with a DMR. Takes the head
shot
off of Handy. More than ready for that swing round. Cyber droning himself in. Rare gets Cameraman. Gets a bit of a stop on this momentum. They are just trying to find Fantasy from every which way, but he's more than happy to bite back.
Fantasy digs himself in deep in the library, right behind these display cabinets. It's hard to see through as an attacker if you're about to be pushing in. Rare now comes in as a bit of support as well. They do not want to give up this top floor control, even though they are a man down currently upon FaZe. They want to fight back to them. They want to make sure the body balance gets back in favor of themselves, but Fantasy loses his life. It's a 2-on-4 situation now. Rare looking to retake the area that was just lost. He goes aggressive, finds the first. Knows there's one onto the balcony, but Bullet comes in and shuts him down. It's only Miracle now. It's only no Miracle now. FaZe bring it to round 15. And now it is match and series points for FaZe, whilst it's map points for FURIA.
In the words of Tim, we're going all the way, Des.
I'm not Des, though.
Oh. He's somewhere saying it.
He's somewhere, probably.
FaZe. One round now separates them from being able to move forward, remove everything else, and that's the weight, that's the pressure ahead of them. Kitchen, to be fair, was their most successful defensive site, and that was the first time they actually lost it on the most recent attempt. Will they double down? Will they try it again? Or will they head off elsewhere? Becomes that sort of risk in the gamble.
8 defensive rounds against the 6 attacking rounds we have seen so far.
Bedroom.
FaZe is slightly favored in this round. Based. Oh. Very nice. Great turn up. Back to the game. Round 15. If FaZe win this one and they are slightly favored, it is very slight. Then they will be pushing on towards the semifinals. If FURIA manage to get this round, round 15, will push over towards the map number 3. So, with that said, FURIA on the attack once more. They brought Heartbreach this time. Something they did not always like to do, so that is going to be a big step up. Their Heartbreach rounds were more generally successful compared to their non-Heartbreach rounds.
Fantasy almost found the first fight pretty instantly here. Bullets stacked up, waiting, but we're back to this, the droning game of FURIA that I've already said so much about. They're trying to get that steady. And with the far side of Handy, just opening up the door, making a bit of presence known, and then open up the double window over the balk as well. They're isolating the single player. Bullet swings round though and finds the head of Fantasy, puts us one step closer to FaZe being one step closer to a grand final. SDK gets caught out by Cyberzera on the rotate, drops his grenade. Nobody else around to catch it as he tried for a sneaky push. FaZe, they have a 2-body advantage and they are not going to throw it away. Pull a lot of them back over to the site. Cyber is loose, but to be fair, in a 1 versus 1, usually you'd favor him anyway.
Taking SDK out saves Bullet's life. That grenade was headed towards his direction if it was just a second slower there. So, FURIA in that 3v5, there's a lot of work to do. There's still that Roma you need to take care of. The rest is all anchored back onto the sides. What do you have available to you? What do you have left in the tank to bring this back, to bring this to a map number 3? Cyber slowly starting to creep up. He wants to go for the flank when it is still hot. He could be moving up these backstairs, could be finding FURIA as they would like to go for a breach.
Well, there it is. The attempt on the plant inside. At this point, you're thinking, FaZe, where are you? FaZe, where are you? There it is. Round on the back, gets the drop, but suddenly it's a technical 2 versus 3. FURIA took a gamble and snuck the kid in, and now they've just got to try and hold on with everything they have, and Miracle is one of the things that they have. Puts us into a technical 2 versus 2. The reveal on the drone. The player tucked round on the fight. Miracle with a quad kill. Can he get the ace? One more body, FaZe, and it is! Who else but Miracle to take us one step closer? Map 3 will be on the cards. A hard-fought victory. And our fight in our race, it's still on.
From a 3v5 on the backbone, Miracle comes in, gets an ace, keeps FURIA alive, keeps them fighting. As the map 3 is now on the board and will have their